What's the most obvious question here? Hey, what strategy did you create? How did you implement it? Was the implementation successful? What are you thinking in your mind? And I will give you the right mindset which you should lock in just as you are sitting 5 minutes before the interview. And the mindset is this, very simple. The interviewer today is here to select a candidate. I am here today to get selected. How to attract the right job opportunity for you. Hello girls and boys, kya hal chal? How's it going? In today's video, we'll talk about how to stand out in thousands of job applications. I know this is a topic that a lot of you will resonate with if you're currently looking to change your job or in the near future. So today, we'll talk about a couple of things. Number one, how to make your resume stand out. And I'll talk about the Inception technique. Then we'll talk about how to stand out in an interview. And I will tell you some techniques on how to make the interviewer ask you the question that you want to answer. Then we'll talk about how to attract the right opportunity for you. I will talk about the secret sauce. Then we'll talk about how to increase your surface area of luck. Because whether you agree or not, there is an element of luck when you're trying to get a new job. We'll talk about that and I'll give you a formula for that. And then finally, we'll talk about how to handle rejections. Because no matter what you do, you will face some rejections because that is the circle of life. So hang on to this video till the end. Lots of information and I'll provide all the resources in the comments. I'll pin them for you to download. So strap on, let's get started. But before that, hit the subscribe button. Let's get started. How to make your resume stand out. Now, research says that a recruiter will typically look at your resume for no more than 6 seconds before taking a call whether to process it or not. What does that actually mean? Let's do a zoom out test on a sample resume. This is how a recruiter will pick up the resume and look at it for about 4 to 5 seconds if he's in India because they don't have much time. So the question is, if this is how a recruiter is seeing the resume, what will you change in your resume? Number one, visual formatting. Very crisp, clearly called out sections in the resume. Number two, 1-page resume. No more than that. Today at 24 years, my resume is 2 pages and the second page only talks about my skill sets. The basic resume is just 1 page. A resume is like a trailer for the movie. You don't give out the plot of the movie, you just talk about the interesting things in the movie. So that's number one. Now let's look at a well-formatted resume and see what difference it makes. Again, zoom out, 4-second check. Let's talk about the Inception technique. Now, if you've not seen the movie, I would highly recommend you to have a look at the movie. It's a brilliant one. Basically, the idea of Inception is that you plant an idea in somebody else's head and then they execute that idea. How does it compare to what we are saying? So essentially, in your resume, you create certain hooks so that the interviewer picks up that hook and he or she will ask you exactly that question in the interview. That's how you plant the idea in the interviewer's mind. You plant the questions because those are the questions that you want answered in the interview. Let me give you some examples. So the way you plant a hook is by this formula. You say problem statement, challenge, and then the tangible result delivered. You do not talk about how. How is the hook that is missing? And that is exactly what an interviewer should ask you in the interview process. I'll give you some examples for a fresher and then for an experienced person on how you can create this hook in this 3-point formula. So let me give an example of using this 3-part formula. So you can say the build and the deployment process for this ABC product was ad hoc and manual. That's the problem statement. The challenge. It was challenging because there were two vendors involved and we did not have the visibility on what they were doing. And as part of the handover, we had to take over the entire build, deployment and the release activities from these vendors. Tangible result. In a matter of 2 months, we reduced the wait time for deployment by 67%. We also set up a process to manage the secrets effectively, thereby reducing operational service errors, service outage errors by 16%. Problem, challenge, tangible result. Not how I did it. You get the idea now. So how to stand out in the interview? Now, before I get into that, let's talk about the mindset. Couple of minutes before you actually sit for the interview. Are you nervous? Are you scared? Are you praying? What are you thinking in your mind? And I will give you the right mindset which you should lock in just as you are sitting 5 minutes before the interview. And the mindset is this, very simple. The interviewer today is here to select a candidate. I am here today to get selected. Let's do this. It's as simple as that. Because that is really what an interview is. They want to select somebody, you want to get selected, mix and match. Alright, so now let's talk about what are the things that you can do to get yourself standing out in the interview. So let's assume that you have used the Inception technique in the creation of resume. Now is the time where the technique got to work. You can use that again as you are opening up the interview, because typically one of the first questions is, hey, why don't you tell me something about yourself? Why don't you give me a background? Why don't you introduce yourself? Something like this. This is how typically all interviews start off with. And what's really happening here is that the interviewer is actually in his or her mind preparing for the first question, because 99% they haven't even seen your resume. And this is especially true if this is round 3, round 4, round 5, where there are senior people who are coming in, who have typically just walked in. They don't have time to scan your resume before, so they're just fishing for the first question. So this first answer, tell me something about yourself and something like that, is very, very important. Here's how you answer that in 3 points. And all of this has to be 60-second, well-rehearsed, well-orchestrated answer. 3 paths to the answer. Your current role plus 1-line background. What are the success metrics? What things are you measured on? And 1 recent achievement. I'll give you an example for a fresher. So you say your current role. I'm currently a DevOps intern at this organization. I passed out in 2023 with a GPA of something. Success metric. My primary responsibility is executing CI/CD pipelines for our mobile platform. Recent achievement. A recent achievement I'd like to share is that I automated the iOS pipeline from scratch. This helped reduce the deployment time by 70%. Now the iOS deployment is just 1 button click. Stop. Rehearse this 60-second introduction. Now, if you're an experienced person, 1 example. Current role. I'm a DevOps architect at XYZ, focused on enterprise customer in the UK and Europe. Success metric. My primary responsibility includes DevOps solutioning and implementation, including customer interface. Recent achievement. A recent achievement I'd like to highlight is where I created a build and release environment management strategy for cloud and on-premise legacy stacks for one of Europe's large retailers. This helped us close a deal of 100k GBP for the implementation part. What you've done? Current role, success metric, recent achievement. You've skipped the how. You've put the hook again. What's the most obvious question here? Hey, what strategy did you create? How did you implement it? Was the implementation successful? And you have already said that you are responsible for strategy and execution. These are the answers you have. That's how you use Inception to plant a question in the interviewer's mind. You get the point. Now, let's come to another part. What if you are asked a question that you have no idea about? What do you do then? How do you answer that question? And this will happen in interviews, No matter how much we prepare, there will be some curveballs, some bounces here and there. Let me give you an example. Let's say the question is, what considerations do you keep in mind when you're uploading a very large file to S3? That's the question. Now you have no freaking idea what to do here, right? Here's how you could handle it. So here's how you would use a logical approach to answer that question. You begin by saying, hey, I have not uploaded a large file to S3, but let me take a logical approach to answering this question. I know that S3 is a large file storage area which is offered by Amazon, and to upload a large file, I would typically use the Amazon CLI. Now, assuming that Amazon CLI is already set up on my machine, I wouldn't transfer the large, let's say a 10 GB file as is. I would break it down into smaller chunks and then transfer them. Now, doing the transfer, I would see if there is a way to transfer them in parallel for faster transfers. And I've done this kind of thing in the past where we used to transfer large files over FTP. Once the transfer is done, I will also make sure that those chunks are then put together and that file can be viewed again or used in whatever way we wanted to use it. I also know that there is an Amazon SDK and there's probably a way to transfer large files within the SDK itself. So between Amazon CLI and Amazon SDK, I will figure out the answer and I know what things to do. Break the large file into smaller chunks, see if I can achieve parallelism in transfer. If it's sensitive data, I will see if there's an encryption, decryption required. And once the transfer is complete, then get the chunks together and then see if the final file is workable or not. Here is how I would approach it. A good interviewer is not just looking for the right answer. He or she should be looking for your approach, for your thought process to the answer. Because the fact, boys and girls, is that nobody knows all the answers. How to attract the right job opportunity for you. I'm sure you'll agree that these days, not a lot of job openings are even appearing on the job portals. These are either being fulfilled internally or the recruiters are seeking out the right profile and reaching out to them directly. So the question is, how do you make yourself so visible out there that the right person can find you? How do you make the right opportunity attract towards you? And the only way that I know of how to do that is by putting yourself out there, by putting your body of knowledge out there, so that when somebody is looking for somebody like you, you stand out. Now, what is your body of knowledge? What is your body of work? It's the thing that you're learning. It's the thing that you're building or creating or coding. It's your knowledge. It's your opinion about things. It's open source contribution. It's anything that you can showcase out there. And obviously, this has got nothing to do with the proprietary work that you're currently doing in an organization. This is agnostic of that. This is your own intellectual property IP that you can showcase to the world. How do you do this? I'll give you a framework for this. So, starting Monday morning, you go on LinkedIn and you put up a post. You say, I will be learning / building / creating, let's say Ansible for the next 6 weeks. Let's take a simple example that you're learning Ansible, right? Now, instead of learning Ansible, you could be building a project, you could be creating an application, whatever, but you'll get the point. So Monday morning, LinkedIn post which says, hey, I'll be learning about Ansible for the next 6 weeks. Follow me on how to learn Ansible and to get more updates and to collaborate with me. Simple 2-3 liner post. Then what you do Monday to Friday is you learn the thing, is you learn about Ansible. You go watch videos, you take a course, you read some articles, whatever, or you build the thing, right? And as you're doing that, you note down the key points. And then on Friday evening, you go to hashnode.io and then you write a detailed post. You say, hey, in this week, I learned these 3 things. Here is where some good videos about that. This is a good course where I learned it. These are some good articles. Give links and then write a summary of what you learned. Actually what you learned, not just pointers, because pointers are available for everybody. So give your unique perspective. This was thing which I learned which was not missing. This is a problem which I had. This is how I solved it. That would be very interesting for somebody who is on your journey and trying to learn the same thing. So one article on Friday evening, whatever Ansible playbook, even if it is 3 lines, that goes into GitHub. Then on Saturday morning, out goes a LinkedIn post which says, hey, in this week I've learned these 3 things. Here is a LinkedIn, here is an article on Hashnode that I wrote about details. Here is a link to my GitHub commits. And here is the playbook that I created on GitHub. So a complete action. You start from LinkedIn on Monday, you wrap up again on LinkedIn on Saturday. You repeat this post every single week for 6 weeks. And then you learn something else, repeat. Build something else, repeat. Create something else, repeat. Do this consistently for 6 months, for a year, and then see the magic happen. How to increase your surface area of luck. Now you have to admit, getting a job has a slight element of luck to it. You can do everything right, but without the luck factor, things will not work out. But you are born with the luck that you have, right? What the heck can you do about it? Now, here's where I beg to differ, and I'll give you a perspective on that. You cannot change your luck, but you can definitely increase your surface area of luck. You can increase your chances to get more lucky. Now, there's a chap called Jason Roberts. He's a serial entrepreneur and he's a co-host of the tech podcast, Tech Zing. Go and listen to it. It's a fantastic podcast. And in that, Jason Roberts says, the amount of serendipity that will occur in your life, your surface area of luck, is directly proportional to the degree to which you do something you're passionate about, combined with the total number of people to whom this is effectively communicated. In plain English, it means he's told us a formula, which means L is equal to luck is equal to D or do multiplied by T or tell. The more you do and the more you tell people about it, the luckier you will get. Do is hard work. Tell is what we have just discussed in the previous section, which is LinkedIn, Hashnode, GitHub. Now this is in your control. This you can definitely do and increase your surface area of luck. How to deal with rejections. Now, no matter what you do, you are bound to get rejected somewhere or the other. The interview will happen, but you will not get selected in the final round. All the rounds will happen, but the offer letter will not come. The offer letter will come through, but finally, before joining, something or the other will happen. These are things outside of your control. Yes, you can cry about it for a day, for a week, for a month. Whenever you're ready to do something about it and whenever you're out of that trauma of getting rejected, do this thing. Number 1, check if there is something that can be improved. See if there is a pattern to the rejections. Are there 3 or 4 interviews where you're crossing round 1, round 2, round 3, but getting rejected in the final round where a senior guy is coming in? Or are you getting rejected in the first round itself? Or are you getting rejected when they come to infrastructure as code or networking thing, and you're seeing a pattern there. See if there is a pattern which can identify what things you are weak at. It could be something technical, it could be something, your mannerisms, it could be something that you're saying, it could be the way you're projecting yourself. And at this point, if it's not technical, for the other ones, you would need a mentor. Because these are called blind spots. What you don't know is what you don't know, right? So whoever is your mentor, whoever is somebody that you look up to, who is in technology and senior enough to understand these things, go to them with a pattern and say, hey, this is what is happening, this is what I'm spotting, can you tell me what's going wrong, right? So do that. If you can't figure out what is doing wrong, or if you think you're doing everything perfect, but there is still something outside beyond your control because of which you're not getting your next job, then understand and accept that there is a higher power out there, right? You call it God, you call it universe, you call it destiny, whatever you might call it. But there is something greater than you who is operating out there, and maybe, just maybe, this company of your dreams was not meant to be. That's how it was destined to be. Accept it and move on. So summary, if something is not going right, check if you can do something about it, do it. If you can't do anything about it, but be prudent enough, don't take an easier route, ke yaar, ab main kya hi karu, it's all up to God. Not that. Seriously check if you can do something. If not, accept, move on to the next one, and to the next one, and to the next one. Hope this video made sense. I've processed a lot of information in a short period of time. Let me know what you resonated with. Let me know in the comments, and let me know if you have used Inception technique or the zoom out technique or any of the 10 things that I've said in this resume. Let's talk in the comments, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.